think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
The art and color actually sort of grabbed her, even if the material itself is
way out there,
admittedly trash. But yeah, I mean, it just has a wider appeal, and actually, this might be a good, and I think it's selling good issues. It's making good money, and I think this might be a good transition to our topic today of other comic books adaptations of corporate properties that did extremely well in their time.
Yeah,
and were fucking good. Like
Topps Comics from the 90s.
1995. Oh, Topps. So here on the Extinction Agenda with James,
and in a 1996 vibe.
Yeah. Well, we started off with the 1996 vibe, and now we're just gonna
depressed?
Yeah, right. So Topps Comics. I kind of would like to go through some of the other things they got up to. They were during the boom years, right? The post-image boom years, when it was just like, there's so much money to be made in comics. Let's go crazy. Topps trading cards got in on the hustle, and
Topps trading cards can do no wrong, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They came in. They had some licensed properties. Duckman, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, Zorro, Bram Stoker's Dracula, bunch of Kurt stuff.
Shoot myself in the foot there.
Yeah. Honestly, man, I'd do Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. That was a cool comic or a cool cartoon, and the comic looks fucking cool. Stupid kind of. It's sort of a Turok premise. Kind of, I guess. Only there's Cadillacs. I don't know. Who can understand the Cadillacs and Dinosaurs phenomenon? Not I.
No, it's just somebody ran with wildly opposite things. It does sound cool though, and I can envision the covers in my mind for some of the covers.
Yeah, they're fucking great. It was originally called Xenozoic Tales, which is not as cool a title.
No, not as good.
Anyway, Xeno Warrior Princess, Mars Attacks, Jurassic Park. They did all the Jurassic Park shit. They had James Bond briefly, it seems. Maybe Jason versus Leatherface. So they were flailing.
That's what. Yeah, a lot of stuff adapting there. Wow.
Yeah.
Lucy Lawless is incredible, just for the record.
Well, yeah, let's put that on the record.
You can walk away from it, but I gotta say it.
Yeah. No, it's on the record, man. It was out there. AI right now, all AI across the planet is just like something new for the record.
I just made AI dumber.
We do it every day. It's so yeah, we're doing the X-Files comics, but not all of them. So we're going to do issues 10 through 12 and then the annual, which are basically all coming out at the end of 1995. This comic was a runaway fucking hit. I didn't really appreciate how well it did. Where did I put the note here? Sales. Yeah. So issue number 1 comes out. It shows up number 80 in the charts with 16,000 orders. So it's doing Jonah Hex, Force Works, Mighty Morphing Power Rangers, Silver Surfer numbers.
Not very good.
Yeah. By issue 9,
not bad really for a first hit.
Yeah. By issue 10, it's number 8 on the charts, selling 98,000 issues. By the time we hit issue 12, it's in the top. It's number 4. It's within the top 5. So you got 2 issues of Spawn, a Doug Mensch Batman. So it was a hurting time. But it pulls in 100 grand. And I remember Wizard magazine was really big on this comic, and like considering how popular this is in the era that we were collecting comics, like I never read any of these.
No,
I had
I
no interest
never.
in
I
reading
don't
them.
even know that. I don't even know that I came across them.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
I don't
like you
know
said
either.
too,
Yeah,
Chris is our X-Files head.
yeah,
So we didn't like. I don't know. I didn't stray into it. I didn't like. I enjoyed it.
yeah.
I don't know that I would have strayed into a comic book version of it.
Well, looking at this art now as an adult, 'cause so who's behind this nefarious plot? It's Stefan Petruccia and Charlie Adlard, who would go on to do the vast majority of The Walking Dead. Um, and I don't know, I didn't, I wasn't like I was cognizant of writers back then. I would have had to have been, but Petruccia was not was not up there. And Charlie Adler's art, well, I really liked it as an adult. I can see a young like I there's two things against it. It's not Image Comics because we're still talking 1995, right? I'm 15.
Yeah, this is
So,
bleak. This
yeah,
actually has a like a dark tone, and also
yeah,
like a dark color palette, a lot
yeah,
of shadows, a lot of mood.
yeah. And the most annoying thing that I've always hated, and one of the reasons I almost certainly didn't even consider this comic, is artists trying to draw David Duchovny or Gillian Anderson, like doing these renditions of actual actors. It always comes off stupid. They never look. They're trying so hard to make them look a certain way that they don't act well. I do think that that said, Adler does a good job, but I think 15-year-old James wasn't ready to sit down with this comic and appreciate it for what it was. I wanted to read Force Works like any other hot-blooded
Fuck
North
yeah.
American boy. Yeah.
Shout out to Miri and Kim for these covers though. Fuck
Oh,
yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Ace is high.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, really gets a good vibe on the show, and they're using images or photo reference, and it comes off well for Mulder and Scully.
Yeah, it comes off almost like oh man,
The
who's that artist that did used to do album covers for it's like a heavy metal style.
ooh, I'm not. I don't know who you're referring to. I
Uh,
was thinking more of. Oh, now I can't. Dave McKean.
that's who I'm thinking of. Dave
Oh,
McKean.
okay. Yeah.
He did. Why can't I
Sandman.
remember the band's name?
Oh, he did covers for a band. Well, he did a lot of stuff like the Eyes of Stanley Payne. Um,
Yeah, Dave McKean. He did the. Oh man, I can't. It's
that's fine.
anyway. It's a bummer because it's a big band we used to listen to when we were younger, but it's just
You know what?
you
You
know,
talk. I'll look it up. So,
it's a hole in my memory, and I just you know what? The
just live
biggest
with
thing
it.
for me is I keep Arnold Schwarzenegger moments in there, and some information about Michael Ironside as well. That's
Oh.
that's my downfall. That's
Okay. All right. We got Counting Crows, Alice Cooper, Testament, Algin Tori Amos. Download is the one I was thinking of.
Oh,
Fear Factory, Frontline Assembly.
Frontline Assembly. There it is.
Yeah, and then he's doing Skinny Puppy. So yeah, so this style of art on the covers definitely it hits the right spot. I don't think
It's
I was
metal.
turned away, but yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't get turned off from this by the covers. I don't think. So okay, these were good.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
So that's the funny thing.
Yeah.
The writing is like the writing is smooth. Like when you're
Yeah.
reading it,
Yeah.
it flows off the tongue. It flows through your mind, and you can almost kind of hear Mulder. That's really impressive. Really
Yeah.
impressive. Also, like the first, like when we started on issue 10,
Mhm.
I like the body snatcher thing that we open with, and then
Mhm.
I did find Mulder's Illuminati and Freemasons explanation that was crazy. It was so wordy, and I'm reading through it, and I'm keyed right in, and I just love that they smattered all that dialogue in to make it a joke.
Yes, yeah. That's the and Pachuca has like I think a very good command of the form. There's pauses when there needs to be pauses. Like there's preparation within the storytelling to create a moment where she can be like, after Mulder's like done all the like wheels within wheels, plots within plots. So there's a pause and like, so when did they have time to kill JFK? And you get to see them kind of, I don't know, go through the psychological, or at least Mulder's psychological response. You see them talking to each other.
Yeah, props to Adler for that for that anger reaction, which really I found funny. Honestly, Scully, get back to me when you get caught up. And then he gets all cocky. Really funny. I thought it was funny anyway. And then
it was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they kind of move on to like more of it turns a little bit more sort of spy thriller after that.
But we open up with, the first thing I was surprised to learn is that going within this, I picked it because it was a 3-issue arc. I thought the art looked kind of interesting. I didn't realize that Pachuca had, like, this was a year-long arc, and this is the culmination of it. And I didn't expect that. And it's cool that they were able to do it. But you're really jumping in the deep end. Coming in over here at issue number 10. I did not expect that. Yeah. But it's a testament to their ability that, like, I didn't feel that lost. And you even get an opportunity. It is its own story. And it, like, the first thing it wants to talk about is Mulder's been listening to someone who's been in a coma, just talking. He spent his last hours speaking with great depth and complexity on the nature of life. Considering that he was an uneducated man who seldom spoke in words of more than a syllable, this was quite remarkable. And he's listening to, like, the recordings of this sort of a Fortiana experience, and deriving meaning from it. But as Scully points out, like, look, you haven't slept. You're finding patterns that aren't here, and it's immediately calling into question conspiracism as such,
she's attributing the ramblings of this guy to schizophrenia, so she's always grounding the scenarios.
Yeah, and I can't get past the fact that I can take the same information and draw 100 different conclusions, and that sounds like Scully. But then into typical X-Files formula, she turns her mind to the crazy stuff and starts to also kind of believe in it. I like this dynamic about the X-Files, and Pachuca understands it and executes it well. The back and forth between chaotic belief and skepticism.
Yeah, it's like a paranoia sort of driven narrative, and I feel like the art takes it down like a little bit. It's a little bit dream-like to sort of go with Mulder's experience, and then that's when Scully kind of like backpacks in. Later on, we'll talk about the annual, where the annual is funny because the annual ends up being Scully's. It's a Scooby-Doo fucking story.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say, it's a Scooby-Doo story.
And Scully ends up being correct, and it's a pervert hiding in the cupboard with a flashlight and a trench coat, and instead of a ghost, right? But anyway, that's the cool part, is that when you can cast that doubt into either person's narrative at any time, and then you can run this thing, and you're always not sure who's going to be on the right side of things,
Yeah. So this story, I guess up until this point, they've been dealing with a bunch of high level conspiracy stuff of one sort or another, mysteries related to conspiracies. And at this point, we're opened up with, I don't know, there seems to be someone who can possess people's minds. And I guess probably throughout the entire season, we would have had a sense of this. But yeah, and this person, this intelligence, this consciousness that's flowing from person to person we get the impression, like, I don't know, if not manipulating things, then, operating behind the scenes somewhere within these wheels within wheels. And we get like a whole plethora of your greatest hits, like all the Illuminati and the Freemasons are referenced and all sorts of other shit. But also like the Crystal Skull makes an appearance.
Yeah, that's the well, it's this crystal helmet that's also sort of that's like a riff off of that. There's like a helmet that someone made that used frequencies to create hallucinations. And
and so with like back in 1995, the idea was, this is like the original idea, like, remember people fussing about cell phone towers, G5, all that shit.
All the time. People still do that.
They still do that, right? And the original version of that was extreme, like ELF, extremely low frequency radio waves, ELF. And this was back in 1995. That was your conspiracy theorists, Manchurian candidate brainwashing technology. And this comic fucks around with that, where this idea, there's this helmet that it manipulates, I don't know, whatever stuff. You put it on, and you'll have a extremely low frequency radio wave experience, which is much like, your DMT experience or your mystic experience or something like that. But it shatters, right? Or someone's trying to steal it. Mulder retrieves it.
Yeah, with the help of whatever, the Shadow Man here that jumps bodies 3 times and vacates the premises, and then Mulder comes up fucking aces with this thing out of a sewer.
Yeah. Which the stakes are really low. He's like, he trips and it almost goes down a pipe. And then he heroically saves it. And you're like, well, that's a little weak.
And then he comes like out of the fucking sewers with it dripping and kind of shit. And you're okay.
Like, we could have really done without that whole scene. It really didn't bring a lot up, but I guess
big victory for Mulder.
Yeah. And in the meanwhile, Scully's looking for Colleen Dunn, and I forget why, but she's an old woman that. Oh, actually, they're out to kill her, whoever they are, and Scully goes and arrests her, saves her essentially, and things continue. One thing I wanted to point out at the beginning, so there's a playfulness to Petruccia's writing in this, like showing that they know the score. One way in which they do that is the high school that Scully walks towards at the beginning of the comic, as she's going to go see Mulder. It's the Anton Wilson High School, referencing Robert Anton Wilson of the Illuminati trilogy and Prometheus Rising, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of this information, a lot of information from this particular issue, like in the letters pages, he cites the Cosmic Trigger Part 5 or whatever, So there's like, he makes reference to the materials he's using. I don't know, it's just fun. Later on, we're going to see Miskatonic University, which is a reference to Lovecraft. We see Foucault Asylum. Michel Foucault wrote about madness in civilization. So there's all these, kind of little Easter eggs but it's mostly the institutions that everybody operates in.
I like the. I went on a side quest a little bit about the Crystal Skull, just that
okay,
there were whatever, they found crystal skulls, or there's a crystal skull that some people believe that like quartz crystal could hold memory, like almost like a data drive.
Okay. I like it.
So that they
I like where you're going.
Yeah. So that so this crystal skull, apparently, like whatever to this day, we still don't have technology that could duplicate this phenomenon or whatever. So they said they could, it depending on how it was cut, I guess, like almost like a diamond, it could have been used to store data.
Right.
Anyway. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. They do make that. They don't talk about how it could store data, but the skull has a series of prisms in it designed to create a stunning optical effect that can simply be quite hypnotic. No, that's not what I was looking for.
Yeah,
here we go. It's a precise. Okay, found in they're talking about the crystal skull. Found in 1924 in British Honduras, crafted from pure quartz crystal. It's a precise replica of a human skull. And then they say here, even today, we can't duplicate the craftsmanship. I don't believe that. That is such a classic sort of like, even today we can't, so it implies, because it gets down to that, like primitives couldn't have done it. The people who built the pyramids couldn't have actually built the pyramids. It had to have been aliens because they were just fucking stupid brown people. Am I right? And the same thing is in operation here, right? They couldn't do it. Supposedly we can't do it. Therefore, it's either for people from the future or aliens or something mysterious. But like, yeah, I don't know. It just does so much work within the community of conspiracism and the occult and that sort of thing, like that phrase. And you never hear it out of the mouth of anyone who's ever credible. No one credible has ever said like anything to that effect. It just implies that people are stupid in the past, and we're very comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's
anyway,
fair.
That's my rant. That doesn't mean that it doesn't store your consciousness. I mean, that's still on the table as a possibility for the crystal skull.
Yeah, so that's what basically they're saying, the silicon chips that they use, the little small chips of crystal quartz could be used to do that as well. And then whether or not, this thing in particular magically held some information on it that we can't fucking see.
What a shitty experience to like put your brain into the crystal skull or what have you, and then like it probably couldn't have carried so much information, right? So you're going to be like kind of not fully there when you show up.
No, that's like fucking. That's like putting your brain on a thumb drive. It's not fucking useful to anybody, and who reads
there
it
you go.
And how.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly like that. I guess you just get to continue.
Not really, though.
Well, no, yeah, I suppose not, because you're not activated. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is a conversation for another time. What is consciousness within the crystal skull actually like? So they got the thing, and the threads are starting to come together to the extent that they're coming together at all. There's this fucking crazy person.
There's a ninja.
Attacking the bureau. And then while Scully's investigating the stuff about the skull, and so she goes and talks to some Stuart Gordon guy, and that's probably a reference to something too, because that name sounds familiar to me. And this was really cool, where like we put people in this thing and they have these experiences and they see stuff, and when he offers her like an opportunity to try it out, it's like it's a fucking torture chair essentially. Like it looks
and I love that Buddy, while the torture chair is getting in use, I love the juxtaposition of like this like screeching GI Joe guy, holding the fucking purple crystal skull if he's kidnapped that back while Scully's getting like electrocuted into Mulder's so ineffective.
Well, like all of them are.
This is worse than the sewer scene.
Yeah.
And then she's getting like basically molested by horrible little gray men.
Yeah, not like a great full page spread on that one. Like it's genuinely creepy. I think
it's
one thing
awful.
one thing I like about Adler's work, there's a lot to say about it that's quite good. The bad thing is that sometimes you can't tell what's happening with the action. It's not coherent action. But then he's still very good at faces talking at each other, and you need that for the X-Files. And
yes.
But then like these full page spreads that he's doing, and him and the colorist, we didn't mention the colorist because I didn't think to say. Two colorists, George Freeman and Laurie E. Smith, and I think that's consistent throughout. They're it's good. So anyway, when these full page spreads that Adler's doing, sometimes very psychedelic, something like very exciting. Even this crazy guy running around smashing chairs and stuff, even if it's not really comprehensible, it's visually compelling.
Oh yeah, no, it's very good. And like you said too, the color palette's smooth, and these are not like, I mean, these are tops, right? None of this stuff we're reading is remastered here. So this is all like, I don't know, it's just got
on the newsprint,
like a very good tone, a lot of shadows. Just outstanding work.
So they find out that at the same time that Scully's getting molested by a bunch of aliens, like as she hallucinates, and she's screaming, hands pressing against my clothes, can't turn my head anymore, don't really want to see. I know they're all around me, eyes black and hungry. Oh no, I just realized the scream. It's me. I credit to the letterer on that one too, like the placement of the lettering box stuff.
Nice touch,
yeah, comes off well. So anyway, as that's happening, it's revealed that the old lady that they were trying to protect is in fact the psychic entity that's been controlling the stuff. And she's having problems with reality as well. Like sometimes I think we're just a game they play. She's talking about the Eidolon, which is actually I should know this better. I know it's a reference to sort of a strand of Neoplatonic philosophy. So basically the Eidolon is like a higher spiritual being, like kind of sitting behind reality. And she feels that she's manipulated by that creature. And we're getting a lot of like Invisibles vibes on this. Very him and Petruccia, Morrison and Petruccia are drawing on the same materials here. So yeah. So just as Scully's brain is being kind of like, oh my goodness, it's crazy, it felt so real, she's having this complex experience with irreality at the same time as like the MacGuffin of the comic, the woman is similarly having that experience. And there's all these like, I don't know, they're just talking about fundamental ideas of like memory and personality and reality and that kind of thing. And it's very appropriate for an X-Files comic, but it's not what I expected. I thought we were going to get a Monster of the Week comic out of this, but we're getting kind of a philosophical, I don't know, not exploration, but.
Well, it's it's all like reality bending. It's like, is it like, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it's just sort of a like, is it real? Is it not real? And then they're also gonna later in, is it the next issue that is this 11?
I think we're in 11 right now. Yeah,
lost in the sauce. In the next issue, is that where they're blocked out for 3 weeks?
I think so.
You've been missing for 3 weeks, and you're like, wow, I was on a trip with Jesus.
Right.
Into the fucking into the rainbow sphere. Yeah. The very psychedelic stuff, and
I like this. Like when Mulder gets like pulled into basically his sort of nirvana, his like he gets the answer. Like his fantasy is the like figured it out. And so, but it's not just that. His fantasy is that like he brings the conspiracy to justice and puts in puts everything on trial, and the cigarette smoking man's there and the government's there. And he's just showing, today at long last we have it in them, like the proof of all this stuff. And I think that's really naive in telling that, and like there's a fundamental belief, and I guess it's Mulder's fundamental belief, but like we'll get to talk about this a little bit more when we get to like Fight the Future, the X-Files movie. But there's a real sense that like you could actually prosecute these people. Like justice could be done. Like in some way, if you could just get the evidence, then the justice system would do its work. Like as if that was the only problem. And yeah, so that's Mulder's kind of like really naive fantasy. It's fascinating. And then like they're breaking up at this point. Like the show's coming to an end as part of his fantasy, because like you need Mulder to fucking run around like a useless idiot all the time and not know what's truly going on, seeking that proof. Because once they find the proof, then the show comes to its end. But it was all a dream. Skinner pops in there.
Yeah, and it's best if they've been manipulated, or if reality has been adjusted and then they have to sort of start from scratch.
Yeah. If they don't start from scratch at the end, then yeah, no show. Just like it's just another Scooby-Doo adventure.
Yeah, 12 starts jarring too in court, and he's like, "Here's the body of an alien hybrid," and then and just like short, it sort of like flips back to him in this like full success mode in his office, like I've done it.
Yeah, right.
To whatever a jury of my peers, I've proved my theories. Now no one can think I'm crazy, and we can continue to work on the X-Files. And that's basically when Skinner breaks it and it's like, where have you guys been for the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't think that actually is real. I think that's just like Mulder. That's the means by which Mulder breaks out of this. Oh no, Scully has a fucking thing too. What's the last thing I remember? The Senate hearing. There was no Senate hearing. I suppose you're right. So yeah, they probably should have put them under isolation for a bit. Mulder and Scully after that.
Yeah. Skinner lets them like run rampant.
Oh my goodness!
Even the episodes we watched where he was like one of their agents just like turned up like stabbed with juice and stuffed into the back of a car, his squad car, and his underwear, dead as a doornail. That's a problem, especially Mulder's like, oh yeah, I just chatted with him. Fuck, yeah, these guys are loose cannons, and they're using a lot of resources.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, I mentioned it. Like he's going to like Alaska or whatever, just on a whim. Like like I said, I think he's got to know someone in accounting, or the FBI just goes where it has to go, man.
That's fair.
So yeah, Mulder and Scully are left at the end of this kind of like mulling over what they know to be the truth. Like they're very shaken by all of it. They're, Mulder's watching these Senate hearings or something like that, where like it's showing them being interviewed, and it's the exact opposite of his fantasy of success. It's an embarrassing failure. I didn't say I don't remember, Senator. Yeah. And then Scully sort of pondering, but of course she comes up with the answer. My computer. We must have put something on the computer that would tell me whatever the fuck happened to us. And then they end up at a church, following the clues or whatever, where the lady, and she explains that she's been behind the whole thing the entire time. It's very tedious to read. You're like, okay, I guess if I had read all 12 issues, then this would have been maybe satisfying, but it does feel very rushed, like this explanation.
Yeah, there's this last issue is like crammed in into like a sort of like it's like a last season on Doctor Who. Like,
yeah. but so there's this 2-page spread where like she's explaining everything. And what's interesting about it, so I'm always reading about conspiracy theory, but I've been reading a little bit more in preparation for talking about this stuff. And the twist on this is, okay, so there's like 2 types of conspiracies. There's lots of different types, but there's 2 major types. You've got your top down, right? So W is fucking with your shit. Or you got your bottom up, which is usually like a body snatcher or invasion type thing, like a communist infiltration kind of thing. And so what's going on in this 2-page spread is like it's explained how a top-down conspiracy is in fact a bottom-up conspiracy in the form of this psychic woman who has these powers. And that's kind of, I gather, the twist, because again, we didn't read all the issues.
It felt like the twist was that the government might be suppressing knowledge of what's happening.
Yeah. And part of that is she's like, well, actually, they're doing that because I manipulate them to be doing some of that because I'm trying to accomplish a goal. I would her, like she wants to get that helmet. And because she's also looking for truth. And it's you turn the page after that, and there's like now I read issue 1. Issue 1 starts in a church. And then this issue 12 ends in a church, and you have that same image, so there's a unity to the thing, and it's got to be a good package. Like it's a writer art thing, top to bottom. It's everything that we want. Sadly, these things are pretty expensive now. So anyway, she's like, I surrender. There is no truth out there. And they're praying, that gets to sort of Scully's faith, and then Mulder's particular faith as well.
Yeah, he's at the point where he just thinks every light in the sky is an alien.
Yeah. I don't think he's as bad as that, but obviously he.
No, he does seem to sort of like repent on it a little bit. I don't know, at the end of this.
Yeah.
He seems to be more grounded than the frantic sort of issue 10 version of himself or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that the Christmas gift is funny.
So the funnier thing about that Christmas gift, so she gives him a shirt, and it says, he who does not remember the past is, oops, I forgot the rest of the quote. That's not what was supposed to be written there. So what was supposed to be written on there was in the letters page, they had a contest amongst the readers for what would be on the t-shirt at the end, as Mulder's Christmas gift, and it was supposed to say like, I'm with Spooky. And one thing that the X-Files comic apparently had a lot of trouble with was getting things approved by Chris Carter and his fucking minions.
Chris
Carter was the creator of the X-Files, pardon me.
Okay.
Yeah. So he so
he's in here saying like, oh yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah. Or someone.
That's a horrible way to work with the creator.
Yeah. And like, I don't know who is behind it. I don't know if it's literally Chris Carter, but like they send it up to the production company, like the X-Files production company. And there was always these notes. There was always this stuff. And like one of the things that they ixnayed apparently is this t-shirt. And fortunately it works.
I'm actually pretty happy that the t-shirt doesn't say I'm with Spooky, because I just would have been fucking confused.
Yeah. Yeah, but it ends up being something about the memory. And
this is this is clever because it backtracks to the beginning of the issue. Yeah. And then I get a full circle, and I like a full circle in my issue as well as in my story arc. Very nice. Yeah. Which, whatever. Some people don't like that.
No, dramatic unity. You'll never hear me complain. And then they sit there in Washington D.C., sitting at a bench. That's a big fucking bench.
Yep, nice snow effect. Just a clinic here by the artist.
Yeah.
The stained glass. Anyway, it was a good art, big bang finish for that issue for me. But
And in the middle of all this, Charlie Adlard is also making like annual number one. Oh, that's August 1995. But either way, like he's drawing 12 issues, hard issues, like no cutting corners. Charles Adlard is in the house and also producing a complete annual. Same with the colorist, same with the letterer, same with the writer. Like they're
these guys are just busting their ass. Like they're like, you know what? We got X-Files. This is it. This is our fucking race to the big time.
Well, like honestly, that enthusiasm in that product, like I told you, the sales on this, right? Like it worked. They were.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you believe in it, like it's like I don't know.
I don't
like
know
some
what
of
happened.
The ham-fisted shit that Marvel and DC put out on a weekly basis, where nobody has any type of, or it seems that I shouldn't say that. That's rude, but it does seem like there's a lot of missing urgency in the product or care that they're on the book.
Yeah. Though I'm sure they disagree, but like I think you're right.
Yeah. Well, if they disagree with me, then they're not talented, which is a whole other separate problem.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? But okay, anyway, let's put that aside. Now, the funny thing about Perchucha and Adler's going to stay on as the artist for a good while, but Perchucha is out after issue 16. I don't know why. They have their own career doing other stuff. They write novels. I was listening to an audio book of theirs as I was waiting for your call this evening. But yeah, I think that this individual should have had a better career in comics. They could have written Hellblazer. Yeah, I don't know if they would have got John Constantine's voice, to be honest, but I think this is a Hellblazer series.
Yeah. This writer is great.
Yeah. It's just not really graphic. Like it is very PG.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Oh yeah, of course. But I was just like, when I'm thinking about Hellblazer, I guess maybe I was responding to myself. I was like, actually, this is more like Goosebumps or some shit.
Oh, I'm sad that you said that, because it's true.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with Goosebumps, though,
Well, that's what the X-Files is. Like, very rarely is it scary in any respect. Like, gosh, maybe not. There's only one. I don't want to ruin it. Well, we didn't end up watching the episode, but I know I'm going to talk about it next week. There was one thing in the X-Files that fucking deeply unnerved me, and we can talk about that next week. But generally speaking, it's a Twilight Zone show. It's a fucking, well, what do they call it? A monster of the week.
Yeah, monster of the week. That's a great description. Yeah. It's a spooky. I mean, sadly, Scooby-Doo.
yeah. We'll just keep coming back to Scooby-Doo. So in the annual, I don't think that this. I just kind of thought this was competent. I don't know if I have a lot to say about it.
No, this wasn't as good as the 3-run arc. I did think it was kind of fun where Mulder's like, do you believe in ghosts? And then he's like, I've got the black box, where this guy's like, is that a random woman? Crash. And you're like, what? That black box is full of shit. How 2 FBI agents could get pulled into an investigation based on that audio? That's unfortunate if they're spending money on that. But
well, that's the premise.
This guy could have just honestly had a fucking attack because he didn't take his meds. Mulder will tell you he wasn't on any meds though. But
yeah, we happen to know that.
Yeah, and I also thought it was weird that Scully's, like, I guess, father appeared for no apparent reason, completely unrelated.
Well, like at the first you're like, okay, so what's going on? Because the ghost of her dad shows up or whatever. Daddy. And there's all sorts of ghost stuff, and then it, like you said at the end, James, it's revealed not that there's a ghost, but that there's like albino daughter or some shit. Who's been who's schizophrenic and been hiding in the fucking church tower or whatever. Yeah, and and she's saved by an actual ghost, like her spoilers, everyone, her daddy saves her. But it could have easily been like she's being choked at the time. But of course, no. But the lady's like, the person choking her is like, what? Who's there? Turn around, daddy. Lightning strikes. Um, yeah. I mean, it's like it. They are also fucking around with a bunch of god imagery and stuff. Like, there's nothing stupid about this. It's just like I don't. I even thought there was some really cool lines, like when they call in that um spirit medium, and she's using all this like computer technology, uh, and yeah, she, don't you believe in ghosts? Look at that. I get vibrations up the wazoo just thinking about it, and then moved on. I mean, on a purely practical level, we all carry around our parents' voices in our heads, right? In a sense, but nothing. If we all come from that little hunk of stone, how can it not be haunted? I just thought it was cool. And then, like on the TV screen, you're sort of seeing a mediated image of a little hunk of bone, which is supposedly mitochondrial Eve's bone. It's literally Eve of Adam and Eve's bone.
Yeah, and that researcher, whatever Mulder alluded to at one point, that basically everybody actually is related. Back, like the genealogy of all of Earth goes back to Eve, and there's that actual bone is hers.
Yeah, well, this was an idea that I think they say when it happened, but it was popularized, I believe, in the 70s. Like, there's a certain sort of like fucking stupid asshole out there who will go off of like some old boomer asshole who'll talk about mitochondrial Eve, but it was a real thing. They did postulate that they're like at a certain point there has to, like from a strictly speaking like a standpoint, I mean, we all have to have an origin, like a biological origin, and like
Yeah, like you can go chicken and egg on that, right? Like,
yeah.
you don't get birthed from nothing. So if you
Yeah.
continue to shrink populations on certain land masses, and then you push land masses together back to whatever certain
Yeah.
eras or whatever, you could
Yeah,
say
yeah,
that population has to shrink down and start somewhere, right?
Yeah, and mostly, I haven't read a lot about this. One thing that's always puzzled me is there's a sense that, like, so far as we can tell, and we're getting off the rails here, but mostly out of Africa, it appears to be the primary source. But I also saw like some flows coming in through China as far as like earliest humans go. And I was like, well, how would that work? They couldn't have been like, there has to have been a point between those two things. But again, I was just looking at a map with some arrows in it in a book that I have. So, clearly my research is about as deep as a puddle. The point is like, this is a thing. Like whatever Petruccia's writing about here, whatever use they're making out of it.
And they do like religion in this book too, or in the X-Files, you got to bring religion. If you're gonna do this, you got to bring religion into it.
Well, particularly since like Scully's a Christian, she's a skeptical believer in God. That's a character trait, right? So it's all in there. But yeah, like it's brought in more than the television show does.
Yes,
yeah.
Actually, one of my I don't know how you felt about this. Is the very end. I'm skipping to the end, but
sure,
quickly. But the grotesquerie of her, like, sort of praying to Eve almost, that the albino villain here has control of all of her musculature if she just knew what buttons to push, and she regurgitates this bone of Eve that she's fucking stolen is absolutely fucking disgusting and disturbing. And I just, honestly, it's probably gonna stay with me. And I was fairly impressed, because I was like, that's the kind of imagery that you can use when you're doing Goosebumps-esque, like PG level stuff, that you can still really bother people. And anyway, I just thought it was a cool moment, just for.
No, it is, and it's a good, and then she's and here it is, the Foucault Institute for Criminally Insane. yeah, and she's haunted by like these ghosts that are actually her own sort of genetic memory. Uh, there's a lot of big ideas in this, but at the end of the day, yeah, we can still call it Scooby Doo. It's like an elevated Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
And
it's true, and then you can this story for me also sort of pushes back on Mulder for me, because there's vibes, there's a couple things I couldn't explain here, Mulder. That's fine. You can throw that out there loosely, but in a nutshell, the crux of this particular annual ended with it's a schizophrenic person. And
yes.
you can doubt all of these things, and you can lean into Scully as well, which we didn't get before.
Although it doesn't explain, like, there is actually the medium or whatever, right? You have found me. Like, the murders are caused by the daughter of the deceased wife of a person obsessed with mitochondrial Eve.
Right.
But there's still that like fucking ghost that comes out of that lady's mouth. I am the hunger that dragged you all screaming from the womb. That happens, and then the room collapses with all sorts of magic stuff. Like what's her nose couldn't have caused that. So like there is a supernatural event happening at the very precise time that there's like just I'm not going to say an easy murder mystery, but just like a murder mystery.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Scully's dad. That's not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not easily explained away either.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I just like that they sort of throw her a bone.
Yeah. Well, everything ends up uncertain in typical appropriate X-Files fashion. Like that's the only way this not just this comic, but the series is. We already said like if they get to the truth, everything shuts down. There's no story anymore. But like the comic, the X-Files as a franchise has to perpetually operate within this space of uncertainty. Like where you don't know what's real, you don't know what's true, but like the only thing that those two individuals know is that they both want to know the truth and they both are partners. And that's the unshakable bond and thing that motivates, like the tension between them motivates. Well, obviously it motivates the story, but it gives expression. The tension between those two things gives expression to the sense of uncertainty within situation X, within Bigfoot, within fucking ghosts, Loch Ness, triangles, Philadelphia experiment, abductions. Doesn't matter, like they tackle all these various things, but at the end of the day, they don't know what the fuck's going on. They're both trying in their own ways.
If your senses can be altered, how much can you trust?
Yeah.
It's I don't know. Honestly, it's a fun time and like weirdly strong book. I don't know where the fuck you'd get it, but if you wanted to read it,
you can steal it off the old internet like we've done. But the collections were put out by Top Comics way back when, Tops. But those things, like, they're probably on eBay. I bet they turn I haven't looked it up, but I bet they're expensive. And then Titan Books put out collections, but they too are out of print. So I just can't imagine that these comics are that easy to get a hold of in physical versions. But if you're one of the lucky listeners out there who has these, congratulations. This is an entire thing that I'm embarrassed to say kind of just slid right by me in our youth. It was fucking cool.
And we're going to be finding half people.
Well, it hasn't happened to my knowledge yet. And the thing about it is that the more deeply I have gotten into the whole human abduction syndrome, you realize that we're dealing with intelligence that works in math, works in symbols, works in metaphors, works in holograms. It is not the way we relate. It reminds me very much of one particular abductee who said, they rammed instruments up my vagina, They stuck a needle in my stomach. They violated me. I screamed. I called them cuss words. I'm screaming. And then they let me go, and I'm being escorted by a tall being down a hall.
Yes.
And a whole bunch of beings are on the floor, on their knees, as if they are bowing to me as I walk by in my fury of feeling raped. And she said, I suddenly realized they're trying to say, we're sorry. And that the metaphor was like a theatrical drama. This kind of thing comes up in the abduction syndrome, as if we're dealing, our mind is alien, their mind is alien, how do alien minds communicate? That some of this is still so enigmatic to the people in the human abductions.